Back on Game Day Scoreboard, where the Raiders have completed their 21-17 win over the Patriots. Injury note in this one, Jimmy Garoppolo did leave the game with a back injury, was taken to a local hospital via ambulance. It's Brian Hoyer cleaning up from there. And in the end, the defense for the Raiders leading the way in their third victory of the season. And for more, we say hello to the lead voice of the NFL on CBS, our Tony Romo, standing by. Tony, this matchup between these two teams begs questions on both sides, but let's start on the winning side of the ledger. Raiders are sort of one of those tweener teams right now. Do you feel you know more about them today than you did 60 minutes of football ago?
I feel like I know them pretty well now. I mean, at this point in the year, you kind of have a beat on the team. It's about the ability to adjust and, accentuate your positives and try and minimize the stuff that gives, your team trouble from winning. But I think the Raiders, when I put the tape on, they're in phase a lot. And what I mean is they're very good on first down, second down. They're not good on third down. A lot of time that's self-inflicted. They almost, like, one penalty here, the quarterback had the most interceptions in the league coming in, Garoppolo. So if you think about it, they're in these games, they're tight, and they lose, and they're throwing the most picks in the league. It's like, well, if they shore that up, all of a sudden, very quickly, this becomes a formidable team because they have a pass rush. Crosby is playing as well as anybody in the National Football League on defense. And then offensively, Devontae Adams is going to get, coverages that give you a chance to have other people get open. And I really like this football team. They got to get a little better inside on the offensive line, but I think they're doing good things. Josh McDaniel has them going the right direction.
Yeah, that's 2 wins in 6 days and a building confidence in Las Vegas. In New England, whatever the opposite of confidence is, Tony, this is a team right now with doubt around just about every corner. Let's talk about the quarterback here, Mac Jones. Terrible interception early in the first half. Dots one down the sideline when his team needs it there, backed up against their own goal line. How do you summarize the day here for Mac in the face of all that's being said?
Well, I think, first off, quarterbacks go through phases sometimes in their career, and I think Mac Jones is better than what is being talked about or being shown. Sometimes the tape shows that he's not playing well at times, but a lot of it is just some of the guys around him, like the drop by Parker. I mean, this was an incredible throw under incredible pressure at the time frame of the game, and that was the throw that was going to win the game. He did the same thing early in the year in our Eagles game. He brought him down to go win, and a guy on the sideline takes a foot and doesn't even tap the ground, and it goes out of bounds, and the game's over. Same in Miami, a different way. So, I mean, he's shown the skill set, but he's having to deal with a lot of pressure, not just, from a pass rush, because that's there a lot. I mean, it's way too much for any quarterback to be successful consistently. But then the internal pressure and just the outside noise, and that's going to affect you, and it makes you kind of get hesitant from time to time. But I think the reason why he hasn't been replaced is because I think he's actually helping them, have a chance to win more often than the opposite. And the last 2 weeks were terrible. But when you look at it, these games come down to turnovers. And the turnover he had today was not okay. I mean, that is an indiscriminate throw with a guy wide open, and that you can look back and say, those are points. And at the end of it, you end up losing by, just a little bit. I mean, that could be the difference in the game.
Quarterbacks and coaches, they own the wins, they wear the losses. Let's talk about the head coach here, because Bill Belichick still stuck on 299, efforting that 300th win. He's already in rarefied air. Call him the greatest coach of all time. But this has to be an interesting experience for him right now, coaching through this. It's back-to-back losses, the worst of his career, followed by one closely contested here, but his team's still not executing the way he's long expected. What does this experience have to be like for Bill Belichick? I won't ask you to go inside the mind, but for any coach, coaching in a different circumstance than they did for 2 decades, what is that like?
Well, it's horrendous when you're losing in the National Football League. I mean, and then for them not to be competitive the last 2 weeks, it's very difficult. And I can promise you, everyone's on eggshells in that building because you've got to get it right. Everyone has to do their job, and so you're trying to exhaust every resource. The biggest thing to me is, he understands, what a team needs to do to win the game. They've turned it over way too much, and they've done it early in games, gotten behind. They're not good enough to come back consistently, create chunk plays a lot. They don't have that kind of a skill set. But the injuries is the biggest thing to me. I think sometimes people forget Bill is doing this without his top 4 corners at different times of the year. And I mean, literally the early part of the year, these guys were good. I mean, they slowed down a couple of dynamic teams. I mean, two of the best teams in the league, the Eagles and the Dolphins, they had right to the wire at the end. So you lose those guys, and now you can't really play the man coverage. I mean, having 1 or 2 down is really hard. 4 at different times, wow. And then the offensive line, they've gone through so many different variations. They've had injuries. 2 guys have played 4 different positions, at least 70 snaps coming into this game, and again today. So to me, it's like they're not really playing with their football team. They're trying to find out how they can win with a bunch of backups, and that's hard for any coach.
Yeah, playing through a lot of attrition right now, and at the moment, New England, the Patriots, trying to find their way. Tony Romo, we appreciate you as always.
You got it.
And don't forget, this season, it's the NFL on Paramount+. All your CBS games coming your way, in your palm, on your smart TV. Wherever you go, they go. It's your team with ours. Download and enjoy on Paramount+.